Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for having me. Thank you to the SEHTA conference for asking me to speak today. It is my pleasure to do so. My name is Brian Johnson. I'm the president of MassMedic. We're a trade association that represents the medical technology industry in Massachusetts. And one of my favorite things to do is to come on and talk about what a special place Massachusetts is. I feel incredibly honored to be able to represent this community because I truly think in the world of global medtech, it is absolutely unique, and it is what I think is one of the backbones of the United States medtech industry. And I think after my presentation, you'll agree with me, and hopefully you'll come and set up your next facility or sales office or R&D settings here in our Commonwealth. So, I get asked all the time, what is MassMedic? Well, we're a trade association, so that means we represent the interests of the industry with government and with ecosystem development and creating just a favorable environment for business, for our medtech industry. We actually, our roots go back almost 30 years. We were spun out of a working group created by the governor at the time as a way to identify industries of tomorrow. These industries that were identified were MedTech and Biotech. So the MassMedic was created in 1996 as an independent organization. And for decades now, we've represented the interests of 400 medical device companies in the Commonwealth of New England. We do so in several different manners. We hold informative education sessions. We hold networking events. We run an accelerator for startups. We do several introductions. We help really just kind of keep the wheels turning here. As you can see in this image on the left, this is from our first meeting many, many years ago. That is the late, great Senator Ted Kennedy. The Senator Kennedys, obviously the Kennedy name is synonymous with Massachusetts, but you might not know that the Kennedys, is specifically Senator Ted Kennedy was instrumental in our life sciences industry here in Massachusetts. He was constantly an advocate, constantly fighting for the growth of this industry and to provide us what we needed from our federal partners in government. So let's go big picture for a second. MedTech in the USA, 519,000 direct employees in the industry, about 6,500 companies. And, we're exporting about $44 billion in total exports. But really, MedTech is dominated by three key markets. You're looking at is this map here from the trade publication MDVI kind of shows San Jose, Silicon Valley, Southern California are the largest footprint ecosystem. So, you're talking about a state that is actually the size of the entire northeastern seaboard. So, by scale, it's tremendously large geographically. It has two very distinct centers up there in the Bay Area and then down in Southern California. The Bay Area, traditionally digital health, it's a little bit of robotics, cancer, oncology devices, things like that, really kind of percolate up there. Southern California, home to Edwards Life Sciences, Masimo, Allergan. So, you're looking at remote monitoring, you're looking at heart valves, you're looking at aesthetics. And then, you have between, fighting for second and third place always is Minnesota and Massachusetts. So Minnesota obviously is the home of Medtronic, and that's our largest company in our industry. So traditionally, Minnesota companies really strong dominance in heart rhythm management and cardiac and some neurostim companies. A lot of large headquartered medtech companies there. Minnesota actually is home to the most Fortune 500 companies headquarters in the United States, little known fact. And then there's Boston, Massachusetts, Cambridge, Massachusetts. When we talk about Massachusetts, you're always going to hear people talk about Boston or Cambridge, and that's kind of A couple of reasons. Number one, Boston is the capital of Massachusetts. It is the cultural center of the state, and it's really kind of the capital of New England. Cambridge, right across the Charles River from Boston, is home to the biotech industry, which is the largest in the world. So, and also home to MIT and Harvard. It's typically when we talk about Massachusetts, you're going to hear a lot of talk about Boston and Cambridge and things like that. But just remember, when we say that, we're really talking about the whole state. But really what we're talking about for MedTech specifically, and we're going for the moment, we're going to kind of leave biotech out. If you add biotech into any of our calculations, we're going to have the largest market in the world for life sciences. That's sort of an undisputed fact at this point. But Massachusetts is a global hub for MedTech specifically. And when we're talking about MedTech, we're talking about anything from band-aids to surgical robots. 420 companies are based in or have a significant presence in Massachusetts, including a very large presence for Medtronic, the home headquarters of Boston Scientific, the United States headquarters of Smith & Nephew, Fresenius, Johnson & Johnson has a massive presence here. Actually, about 15 of the top 25 companies all have presences in Massachusetts. So we are home to a significantly large cluster of MedTech companies. And why is this unique? Well, I mean, if you think on a geographic scale, Massachusetts is just much smaller than Minnesota and California. So, you have this very tight cluster of MedTech companies. And again, if you look at this map on the left, you'll see, our MedTech companies are really clustered in the eastern part of the state. So, you can really go, and if you wanted to, you could visit a majority of these 420 companies on a single tank of gas, which is pretty unique. We're an incredibly powerful economic engine for the Commonwealth. So Massachusetts represents more than 15% of the total US medical device exports. And 1 out of every 4 products exported by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is a medical device. So in a region that is really has traditionally been dominated by industries like banking and education, finance, MedTech and life sciences is really specifically MedTech is really punching pretty high above its weight class there. We are top 3 hub in the United States. As I said before, you could kind of go, California is undisputed #1. Minnesota and Massachusetts typically kind of flip-flop between metrics in terms of who is the sort of most dominant market for MedTech outside of California in the United States. So we're #1 in medical device exports in the country. We're #2 in medical device patents. That's critical, right? That sort of goes to what we're really great at here, which is R&D. We're #2 in venture capital funding. We're #2 in venture capital deals. And then we're 3rd in medical device employment. As you can see, we had about 25,000 directly employed in 2017. Those numbers have, waxed and waned a little bit, but, important to remember here is that if you look at the patents and VC deals and government funding towards innovation, Massachusetts, specifically with MedTech, is an innovation hub. It's an R&D hub. So those 25,000 jobs we have, a tremendous number of those are very high level R&D managers, executive team, really sort of the intellectual hub of the United States in terms of our medical device industry. So when you come to Massachusetts, you'll see that it is a very cerebral intellectual community, especially when it comes to life sciences and MedTech. One of the great things about being here is the ability to kind of be in your neighborhood, be at your kids' soccer game or a basketball game, and run into another parent, and they're also in developing new technologies and really on the cutting edge and the vanguard of care. So that to me is what makes us very unique, is that it's not necessarily that we have the most number of MedTech companies in the world, but we have, I think, the largest percentage of brain power in the country when it comes to MedTech. So we're, Massachusetts is definitely a preferred landing spot for many companies coming over from the EU. Why? Okay, favorable time zone, that's easy. Access to talent. We have a tremendous, not only do we have a great industry, we have world recognized universities that are pumping out students who are versed in the life sciences. We have great feeder programs. We have probably one of the most recognized healthcare hospital systems in the world. We have several of the top research institutions in the world. We have several of the top hospitals in the world. There's not a person in the world who doesn't really know what Mass General or Brigham and Women's Hospital. But outside of those two sort of main systems, there's incredible systems all across the state. UMass Memorial out in the central part of the state, Bay State out in Bay State Hospital System out in the Berkshires. You have Leahy Hospital here in Metro West. So you're talking about really, and then if you expand and add New England, of course you have Dartmouth Hitchcock up in New Hampshire. So one of the great things about this market is that when you come here, you have access to this region, this New England region, which has traditional strength in manufacturing and also R&D and healthcare. So a really great hotbed here when you come and set up your systems here. You can kind of set up an office and really target and hit several different research institutions along the way. So we're an international city as well. This goes back to kind of when I talked about, we refer to Massachusetts, we refer to Boston. This city is very used to people. It's an immigrant city. It's a city that was built by immigrants. It's a city that recognizes and understands and embraces the international presence. And I would say many of our folks that come over from Europe feel very much at home when they come here. They recognize a lot of, those of you there will obviously, if I showed a map of Massachusetts, you recognize several of the cities because we took all the names from England. But besides that, it just feels like a European city when you walk around Boston. So, I think that's a huge differentiator and driver. It's culture and community. We have a great cultural institutions here in the city. It's a wonderful place to live. I lived here almost my entire adult life, and it's a great place to set roots and raise families, and just a manageable city. I think that often gets left out when you talk about ecosystems. Where are you going to go to eat after work? Where are you going to, can you catch a show? Can you go see a concert? Can you go interact and engage and raise your children in a great market? Certainly Boston, Massachusetts, and Massachusetts in total is a wonderful place to be. We also have a really unique market dominance in biotech and pharma, also robotics, and then diagnostics and drug delivery. We have a ton of industries in the life sciences sector represented here. So you get a lot of cross-pollination on ideas. You have a lot of convergence going on. And I think that's really something so special and unique about Massachusetts. As I said earlier, you go to Minnesota, you're gonna basically see a lot of similar companies that kind of spin off of that core IP that Medtronic and Earl Bakken created back in the day with the pacemaker. Or you're going to go to Southern California and you're going to see a lot of companies in sort of the heart valve or the ophthalmology space or aesthetics, right? Because that's the core companies that are there. But in Boston, you have an entire diaspora of MedTech companies, unique in that we have so many different types of companies represented here. So, that to me makes us a perfect landing spot for companies coming over from Europe to, again, the traditional path here is, you typically set up a sales or an R&D facility here in the state. Once you get FDA clearance or approval, you grow your presence here, and this becomes your launching pad for United States expansion, and we'd love to have you. We want to work with you. That's, I think, one of the really unique parts about Boston. So, one of the things that I think is the sort of hidden secret behind why Massachusetts has done so well in recent years is this. These are our partners in innovation, but the state 15 years ago made a key commitment to the medical device, biotech, and pharma industries here. Government was going to become a partner in the expansion and growth of this core industry. And it was the second time the government had really put down its money where its mouth was in terms of fostering this community. During that time, they created the Massachusetts Life Sciences Center. The Mass Life Sciences Center is a quasi-public agency dedicated to growing the life sciences industry in Massachusetts. And how do they do that? They have incredible programs here that helps foster the community. They have a dynamic and amazing internship program where the Mass Life Science Center will reimburse 100% for interns that qualified life sciences companies hire. Okay, so that's basically free entry-level talent if you take advantage of that. They also offer several different tax incentives to help you grow and build facilities here. They can come in and help negotiate on behalf of the state a whole host of programs that can help make your entry into this state easier. And also, when you're here, they can act as a support system to grow this ecosystem. They're dedicated to expanding and growing our workforce here. They're dedicated and have the resources to help your company grow in Massachusetts, which is really important. And they have the full support of the government to do so, which is fantastic. And I think something that really makes us unique. Also, Massachusetts Technology Collaborative is another branch of this, another quasi-public agency by the state, which really is responsible for increasing the manufacturing presence here. So if you're looking to build a factory, they have grants that they can help to assist you with. They have an ecosystem of support partners to help build out programs. These are two great spots to kind of understand and engage with as soon as you come into the state or want to come into the state. One of the things that I have found so great about this job is that, when a company comes to me and they say, I want to do this, I want to do that in Massachusetts, I can go to our partners in government and say, what can we do for them? And instead of being confrontational or sort of blowing them off, I have always found that Massachusetts's team, the team here in Massachusetts at the state level, the quasi-state level, always wants to jump in and do the right thing and help to grow this ecosystem. We also work with organizations like MassBio, which is the Massachusetts Biotechnology Council. This is what you're talking about. We have the globe's most dominant biotech industry. These folks are key in driving that. And there's if you're in that biotech space, that is exactly who you want to engage with first. And you can engage with us as well first. We're here. Our jobs as trade associations is to grow the ecosystem. So we want to make sure that you have information and access that you need. We also work with some organizations that you might not have heard of. The Berkshire Innovation Center, which is out in the western part of the state, is an incredible facility that was built with public dollars to help facilitate innovation and in the Berkshires. The Berkshires is traditionally, it's one of them, historically it is an incredible space for innovation. And it is also absolutely stunningly beautiful. It's on the border of New York and Massachusetts. And the Berkshire Innovation Center at Pittsfield helps really grow that innovation ecosystem there. Think about it, if you ever heard of Tanglewood, Shakespeare and Company, that sort of thing, it's that for innovation. So keep an eye on that. Also, UMass, University of Massachusetts has a medical device development center in Lowell and Worcester. So those are also basically incubators that run out of the state healthcare, run out of state university systems. So something to keep your eye on there. And then also Life Science Cares, which is a really great organization that we work with and that I'm on the board of advisors for. And Life Science Cares is about engaging the life sciences industry in helping cure poverty. So a really nice public initiative that has been developed by the industry here to try and give back to our city. Well, that's all I have to present with Massachusetts. Clearly, it's just a starting point. I would love to talk to you about bringing your company here if you'd like. You can reach me at Brian at MassMedic. You can go to our website, see what we're doing. We run tons of virtual events. So if you're interested in learning more, you are welcome to log on and join us for any of those virtual events. But like I said, we're here to turbocharge the ecosystem. We're here to be supportive of the women and men who are developing the medical devices and medical technologies and health technologies that will cure disease, ease pain, and help change the world. So that is all I have for you today. I want to thank you for your time and your patience in this presentation. I want to thank the conference for inviting me to speak, and I hope that you all have a wonderful day. Thank you.